Good. Okay. Okay. Welcome. Welcome everybody to the live. So let's get going. So today we're going to talk about creating self-governance at all levels in ourselves, our relationships, to ourselves, to others, and to circumstances. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Sharon Lovegrove, and I'm an author, an evolutionary midwife, and mental fitness coach. And I help professional women stop compulsively putting up a front, working endlessly, trying to do everything alone because they're afraid they are perfect. So I help them chillax and take back control, develop the mental fitness to defeat their mean inner judge and embrace wholeheartedly their perfect, imperfect self. So, yes, how do we go about that? How do we go about creating self-governance at all levels, at all relationships, with ourselves, with circumstances, pretty much everything that we do? Well, I think what I wanted to start about today is really to begin a process where I talked about, today I posted in my Facebook page and actually also on LinkedIn, 2 articles about, one, the evolution of the smile. All right, babies smile from 23 weeks. Do they really smile? I don't know, but we know that they smile. And the second is that the second article I sent was about being born, where we are born influences our possibility of success, right? And I wanted to really talk about governance today in the form of what I understand by the field, the field. The reason I say that is because the field is where we live. We all live in the field, and how we manage the field will determine our level of sovereignty, really. So that's what it'll be about. It is the management of all these possibilities that surround us that then help us live in the field in a way that's helpful and in a way helps us to manage and self-govern. But I wanted to really begin with just going back. So why did I sort of mention something about those 2 things that I posted? Well, what was really interesting is that there was a couple of replies that came back, which all of a sudden I realized was going, oh, it was triggering me. And one of the ones was that I had posted on someone else's post, which was really about saying that emotional distress is really, my belief, the cause to most distress in our life, the most possibility of us having a life where we don't thrive at all. And this person said, just comment at the bottom, and sometimes you've just got to let go. And I went, whoa, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that was interesting. And in that moment, I started to feel unsovereign, right? I felt unsovereign because the moment I experienced that, it felt like a personal slur on myself. Here I'm writing something which I believe to be true. And then someone has this thing, well, you just have to let it go. And what I started to think is, how dare you? You are relying on people. You are relying on people to have problems, because otherwise you wouldn't have work. You're relying on them to have a problem in order to have work, right? So to just tell someone to just let it go, just let it go, just pulled up all my judgment, all my things inside me. And I was starting to type away. And then I wrote something like, well, and the question is, when you want to let go and you cannot let go, what do you want to have happen? And then I realized by just slowing down and writing that sentence, I realized I was in the self-righteous mode. And I realized that actually it doesn't matter what she says. That's a truth. Yes, of course, we must let go. But the act of letting go is fearful, right? And that's why people don't let go. Yeah, that's why they can't let go. But what was really important was understanding that self-righteousness, that arrogance that came with that, and how easy it was to rise. So, yeah. And in that moment, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to respond in the way that I would have wanted to respond from my angry place. I'm just going to respond in this way. And I basically just thought, well, that's the truth. That's the truth. And also recognizing that sometimes people on social media, basically all they want is the hits for the algorithm. They're not really interested in what someone is actually saying. And that was a truth too. Not that I like it necessarily, but it is also part of the truth. So sovereignty, governance, self-governance. So this is where we step into self-governance. When we step into this self-governance, and isn't it crazy? Happiness, sovereign, self-governance all have 9 letters. Yeah, they all are about completion. They're all about wholeness. They are all about being in that space of higher being. So when we're in self-governance, we are going into the space of higher being. When we're in sovereignty, we're going into the space of higher being. When we are happy, we are raising our energy so that we can be in that state of high being. So yes, this brings us back now to how do we do it? How do we do it? What's going on? So I guess what's important first is to understand, why is getting angry and distressed about a problem, angry about a response, angry about something, why does that cause us to kind of break away? Why does it cause things to go wrong? And the reason simply is that it disconnects us from our core, from our essence, yeah, from our godly state of being, yeah. And when we are connected to our godly state of being, we are kind of like in the middle of the wheel, the hub of a wheel, while the whole of the outside of the wheel is spinning, maybe not out of control, but it's spinning in some form. But we can control the spin while we're in the state of being. But if we're on the outside and we're not connected properly to the inside, then guess what? We get lumps and bumps and all sorts of things. And we get, wheels kind of bend and crack and all sorts of things. But actually, it's very rare that the very hub or the core of the wheel breaks. It's normally the outside, yeah? So when we have, depending on where we are positionally, we'll kind of decide how stable we are. And yeah, what does being stable mean? What does being stable mean? Now, I want to come back to that point when we get there. But if you can let me know energetically what being stable means, that would be great. You can just write it down in the comments and we'll come back to it. So as I said, when we're in anger, when we're in fear, when we're in any of those things, we disconnect, right? We're not connected to our core. And of course, anything that isn't peace, love, ease, flow, harmony is going to trigger the fear response, okay? It's going to immediately, without our awareness, it's going to trigger the fear response, always. And when we're in that fear response, we will either go into adaptive pattern. Well, first of all, we'll either fight because that's what we have to do, right? We will either freeze because we can't move away, or we will run. All right. So the freeze state is because we are curtailed. And this is where a lot of children that are traumatized are, because they're in the free state, because they haven't been able to get away. They have to do strategies in order to make themselves small so that they can't be attacked. All right, so freezing is a compressive energy. Avoiding is disconnecting from the energy, and fighting is moving towards the energy. But all of these take their toll. So what is important is to realize that experiencing the freeze problem, experiencing that moment of being in fear, is not really the problem. The real problem is that we develop strategies around that, and we make meaning about that, right? We develop strategies in order to keep us safe, in order to make us feel good, in order to survive and thrive. Well, that was the original intention, but that muscle, that mental muscle, gets overworked. It gets overworked, and it becomes our biggest critic, our biggest judge. It becomes a saboteur, all right? It becomes the devil. It becomes something mean. And we have quite a few of those, not just one, but we have a big main one that we normally would have. And that's the one that often shames us, that often takes us into blame and shame. But it's also the one that then makes us strive, and we then become arrogant, which is a real odd paradox. Yeah. So the problem is once we're living in these saboteur energies, right, we've shut ourselves off to potentialities. And that means that we can't achieve the happiness that we crave. We can't achieve the connection that we crave. We can't achieve the prosperity that we crave. We can't achieve the fulfillment that we crave. We can't achieve the purpose that we crave, or the mental ability that we crave, or the emotional security that we crave. We can't have any of those things when we are in that saboteur pattern all the time. So we don't get what we truly yearned for. In fact, what your soul has been yearning for your entire life. You just don't get it. We don't do it. So this is where it is all about the self-governance. Yeah. Because self-governance is, how do you manage yourself, your relationships with others, well, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, and your relationship with circumstance. Ooh, circumstance is a big one, because a lot of people don't realize that circumstance is key and pivotal in causing us to be very, very unhappy. And I will talk about that another day. But I was thinking, instead of me just talking about self-governance, it may be better to kind of get into an idea of giving you an experience. So you may have listened to something I spoke about maybe it was this week or last week, where I talked about the field. And I want to talk about self-governance in the idea of the field, all right? And as we'll talk about the field, I realized that one of my clients had listened to a live that I'd done. I said, when you live in a limitless universe and you come to a limitless gap, what do you want to have happen? And when I was working with a client, that was kind of the question that came up. And when I kind of started using the word the field, they understood. But another person that listened to that did not understand the field, And I realized that although I help people, I have an idea of the field, not everybody truly grasps it. And in order for us to have real self-governance, we need to truly grasp this concept of what the field is about. And so the field is really words create worlds. Basically, that's the field. Words create worlds. We create the world, right? So this was where a lot of the tricky stuff was coming in, because I was helping people understand something called psychoactive space. So when you start to unravel a problem, you can create a landscape. But what I realized was, until they're in the landscape and they know that they're in the landscape, they don't understand that they're in the field. And we kind of live in the illusion that everything is real. And I have to tell you that it ain't. Everything that we are doing is not real. It is not real, because whatever we're seeing is just a construct in our mind. Whatever we're hearing is just a construct in our mind. Whatever we're feeling is just a construct. It is a kind of a representation of many different kinds of sensations that are forming a construct. So this is the key. The field is this endless opportunity of multiple perspectives, multiple hits, let's say, multiple little hits that are coming into our system. Yeah, we are receiving billions and billions and billions of sensations hitting our eyeballs right now as you look at the screen, right? Now, we have particular receptors in our brain that some will look for color, some will look for the which way the angles or the lines are going. If a cat never gets to walk on the floor, they never get to learn depth perception, right? Because they need to be down and up to experience that, because there are certain nerves that learn that pattern. That's why we talk about critical times in people's lives for learning things. Yeah, there's this critical level where these particular nerves actually are stimulated. And if you don't do that, they don't grow. And then you've got to find another way to move them so that we start to see it. But it is because we don't have those nerves. So everything that comes in just information. And we have a little template in our brain, a schema, all right, a pattern, that we then put these images or these sensations around it. And we then are able to form a face, we are then able to form eyes, and we're then able to form things, right? And we are able to remember that we've done that. So it goes into another part of the memory bank. But we have a memory of that, having made that creation, right? So everything is always changing. Everything is always in motion. And how you experience that is what creates your world. Now, everybody, you and I, all create our own world. We're walking around like this 360 bubble of masses of bits of information coming in. And as we're walking, we are actually changing our images all the time. Our brain is just going round and round and round. It does it so fast that it's almost like it doesn't happen. It feels static and fixed, because that's how we think, well, this is real. But the reality is it's not. Nothing is real. And that's the crazy, wacky thing. And what does that mean? That means that we have the potential to change things. And we have the potential to hold the images and hold the way we receive information and the way we interact with the information. We have that ability to do that. And how we do that allows us to govern ourselves, to interact in a way that allows ourselves to self-govern with others, and to create in the circumstances, our environment in which we live. So I thought the best thing is to do this exercise. I'd love you to do this exercise. So put things aside. What I'd like you to do is just to, for a minute, just rub two fingers together with such attention that you can feel the fingertip ridges on your finger. Just really rub those fingers. Yeah? And then just take a nice deep breath in and out. And I want you to have an image of someone you love or something you love. So maybe an animal, maybe a cat, maybe a dog, maybe, it may be a human being. We do love them too, but they are animals. Remember this, we're all animals. We're part of the animal kingdom, just a different group. So another animal, another human. And just allow yourself, you might even try and do it with the sun. You could try even something inanimate, but something that has an ability to give warmth or something like that, all right? So, but it's often easier to do an animal or a person, maybe preferably a younger person, then you don't have any sort of altercations with them. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is clearly see them in front of you. Clearly see them in front of you. And then what I want you to do is I want you to do a few things. I want you to move them behind you, maybe some 20 feet behind you. And I want you to notice how that feels. Just be curious. This is only curiosity. And then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to move the person to, or the being-ish to the left-hand side. And then maybe to your right-hand side. And then what I'd like you to do is to just notice what happens if you can move it to any direction. If you shrunk it to very small. So shrink very small. And how does that make you feel? And then maybe make it very, very, very big. So big, so big, so big. It may even pop it. Just do it. Just do what you can. Make it really big and see what happens there. Just notice what happens. Okay, good. So I want you now to just bring this person back in front of you, have them where they were, And just notice how you feel now. And then just open your eyes and let me know what came up for you. Let me know what came up for you. What happened? I'd be really curious. Now, what I need to do, I know that I didn't get this going, but I will. I wanted to see whether we are on the live properly. So hopefully something's come up. Good. All right. So if you haven't already, just pop it in the chat, just so that I can know what happened. Did something shift? Did something change? When I first did this exercise, I did it for a spider phobia. And what I did was I did something really strange. The first time I did it, I expanded the spider so big that it popped. And I thought, oh my goodness, because I had a spider phobia. And it was really weird. It went pop and it went all over the show. And I thought, oh my goodness, this poor spider. And then at another time, I decided to put feet on the spider. So they were like tap dancing. And yeah, and I gave the spider a hat and and all of a sudden the spider wasn't as scary to me. And while I was thinking about that, and when I was talking to this person or helping my client, when I asked her about this limitless gap, I realized that I had done this little exercise before. And then this person had made the connection of being in the field. And what I want you to realize is that when you're in the field, you are never out the field. You are always in the field. And that means that you are the creator all of the time. And that even if you just shift one thing, even if you just move a voice slightly to the side, and you notice a difference, and you do that repeatedly, you change the paradigm. You change everything. And that is what a creator is all about. That is what self-governance is all about. It's about how do we govern ourselves? How do we manage ourselves? How do we tune into ourselves? How do we make sure that the energetic field suits us, that it protects us, it allows us to expand and grow? This is what's so magnificent about us as human beings. Yeah. And this is often where we are so caught up in our conditioning and so find it so hard to get out of, because we live and struggle with this reality and this non-reality, instead of realizing that nothing is real and everything has to be created moment by moment. Even I have had to really think about that today and think about that over this week. And that's what I do. I help women to learn how to unbind themselves from those chains that bind them, so that the lie or the template that I've created for their life, well, they see the lie and they can shift it, turn it around, let it go. Yeah. Letting go is an interesting phenomenon. We can't just let go of things. We've got to know how to let it go, how to land it so that we don't have a gap, that we keep our energetic boundary in the way that it needs to be to keep us stable, because stability is the key. So how can we let go and still stay stable? How can we let go and be in a place of ease and grace? These are the questions. And these are the things that I love to work with. So if anything resonates for you, and you want to find out more, I have 5 free sovereign way breakthrough calls that are available. So in that call, we will explore your biggest blocks and look at how I might be able to help you have greater health, wealth, happiness, and sovereignty in your life. Because if you don't undo the lie, if you are hiding all the time, if you are constantly nitpicking and not making things go, you are going to have a life that's going to be stressed. And the chances are not a long one, or at least not a long one that is a happy one. So, yeah. Put your comments in the live. Click on the link that I'm going to put in there if that's what you would like, so that you can connect with me and we can have that conversation. And I really want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on today. I so look forward to hearing from you. And anyone who comes on the live afterwards, please, please, please comment and let us know. Take care. Bye-bye.